there, dear viewer! Meet my new hero, Captain Tamriel. He is interesting. He doesn't need a weapon to slaughter dragons. He only needs 2 or 3 skills perked depending on the difficulty, and he is perfect for a straight-up heroic playthrough. With Vokrii block and light armor perks, he seamlessly combines some features of a tank, namely being able to withstand heavy damage with some abilities of an agile skirmisher, namely the ability to avoid damage in more than one way and regenerate stamina very fast. His race was chosen to complete the latter aspect of his combat style and the standing stone to support the former. It turns out Shield and Fist is a very viable playstyle now, although there should be a dedicated perk for it in Vokrii, I feel. But what can you do? Even with the need to put away the shield from time to time, block and unarmed combat actually complement each other quite well in Vokrii. Before we go into further details, here is the list of required mods, which is a little bit longer than usual, but only 2 of them are really indispensable for the build to work. And these are the gameplay mods, but for the armor and bandana shown in the video, you need Nighblade Armor, which is one of these cool standalone nice mashups of vanilla assets, Nightingale Armor and Ebony Mail, I think, which has a sufficiently superhero look while also preserving the game's usual style and aesthetics. It's also Light Armor, which looks kinda heavy, which is exactly what I wanted here. The bandana is from Immersive Armors, but I bet there are some smaller mods containing something very similar. If you prefer shorter load orders, the build seems impossible to pull off without Vokrii and Wintersun, but the rest you could probably survive without if you really want to. Enough of the introduction already, you know the drill. First backstory, then the attributes and the stones, and then skills, and yada yada. Let's go! When you first joined the Legion in Cyrodiil, you hoped it will be a chance for you to prove yourself. There wasn't much of that in your life before that. No great family history, no great talent to speak of, no memory of making your parents truly proud. And yet, as you engaged in the soldier's life, daily exercise and training, you started losing hope. Almost everyone was better than you. Almost everyone learned faster. It came to a point when you became a nuisance to your captain. Not that he ever liked you in any way. "The only thing you know how to do is holding a shield," he once said. "You won't achieve much on the battlefield with just a shield." Not long after that, he sent you and a small detachment of soldiers to investigate a goblin-infested cave north of Bruma. All of the soldiers in the team were also deemed misfits and losers, so you understood immediately what was the real purpose of the mission. Unsurprisingly, the combat ensued and did not go well. However, you survived by the mixture of luck, running, hiding, and using your shield in just the right moments. In the chaos, you lost your way back to the surface. You spent some time in complete darkness and silence, listening closely, hoping that the goblins gave up the pursuit. When you finally found your way out, you found yourself on the other side of the mountains. In Skyrim, you decided to walk north until you find a settlement, and never to go back. And then you've heard a rumor about the local fighters guild in Whiterun. What did you have to lose? Maybe they can teach you something, help you prove yourself. So let's talk about the race, and I don't mean the sensitivity training, I mean gameplay-wise a Redguard is a sound pick for this one, because we will power bash, shield charge and sprint almost constantly, therefore our ability to sprint at lower stamina cost will be rather helpful. Poison resistance? not so much, but it still can help against spiders and defalmer, and it combines with one of our perks. The light armor perks will of course decrease our stamina consumption even further and make sprinting into a way of avoiding all kinds of damage. The attributes should spread evenly between stamina and health. On Master and Legendary you will need to keep potions for both attributes in your favorites anyway. There is very little we can do about it, but high levels of stamina regeneration we will end up having will gradually decrease the need for at least the stamina potions. This is a perfect build for Andromeda's Warrior Stone, so it's probably best to stick with it for the entire playthrough, although you could try to experiment with the Lord early on if you have problems with managing your stamina properly. Discovering all the standing stones will be paramount. The Star of the West daily power, unlockable by discovering all the stones, saved my life more than once, and it has this really heroic vibe to it. If you don't know, it fully heals your health and stamina once a day, and then fortifies both those attributes by the amount restored for 30 seconds. One day I have to use this with Power Surge enchantment from Summermyst, but it is not this day. Speaking of it is not this day, what would you say about an Aragorn build? Asking for a friend. For our patron deity, I choose the Hunding. It complements the build very well, and the blessing gives us 50% chance of stagger with bashes and power attacks. This will combine with the stagger bonus to power bashes we will get from the block perks and from unarmed combat perks in light armor tree. And the follower of Hunding ability will reduce the armor rating of staggered enemies, which will come in handy because we can only deal damage with more bashing and some punches. The Devotee ability will reduce the chance of our hero being staggered, so now you will have complete control over the battle. In one-on-one fights you will just stun lock everything permanently. Very good against dragons and Draugr Deathlords and pretty much everything else. This is a really neat synergy, and I always need more synergy. Give me some more synergy! Well, okay, Belly, I think both of our main skills actually complement each other very well. With Vokrii and vanilla perks alike, you will avoid damage by sprinting, avoid and interrupt power attacks with ease, get some elemental resistance, and improve your stamina regeneration and speed, which equals more damage avoidance and more power bashes, which equals more stagger, which equals more chances to avoid damage and control the combat. So, in the block skill, take all the perks, just pretty much all the perks with the two exceptions of Weapon Block and Torch Bash, which are obviously useless here. Pretty much every perk in the tree will be immensely useful. Block Runner, for instance, is essential to the playstyle relying on mobility and dodging, which we will use whenever standing there and taking a ton of damage. The shield won't be enough. Like when fighting spellcasters, for example. For the same kind of fights, Elemental Protection is a must-have, because we won't have a lot of enchantment slots to spare for elemental resistances. Shield Charge will be useful to get out of many sticky situations, crowd control, as well as unlocking a rather neat combo. The neat combo is pretty much just shield charging and then punching a lot. When you start a fight, you can open it with a shield charge, get all of your enemies to the ground, and then put away your shield and start punching people with your super enhanced fists. You will deal elemental damage with those, as well as cause a lot of stagger if power attacking. This single combo will win you a lot of fights easily, so it's a neat idea to level up your block as fast as you can. Both ranks of Deadly Bash, on the other hand, mean that you won't really need to always switch to your fists. In fact, power bashing will often be enough, especially when combined with Dragon Tail and Poke the Dragon. With Dragon Tail, you can send your enemies flying if you successfully interrupt their power attacks. You can then sprint to them as they lie there, helpless and standing up, trying to stand up very slowly, and then you can just keep bashing until they stay down permanently. You should also take everything in light armor, and again, pretty much every perk here improves your combat style, and I mean everything this time, like every single perk. The entire unarmed branch is necessary, although in the early levels you can just try to get the gloves of the pugilist and focus on block perks first. Keen senses will improve your armor rating when not wearing helmet, and I didn't wear a helmet for the coolness factor, but also because the Nighblade Armor doesn't have one. Windrunner increases our movement speed by 10% and Untouchable by another 10 when in combat. It stacks with our Redguard bonus to sprinting speed, which is also great for shield charge. Is this enough synergy, Belly? Is this finally enough synergy for you? If not, well, the evasive sprint perk also makes you ignore all the damage from power attacks and spells, which, you know, we are good at sprinting for little cost in stamina, so we can do it pretty much for a very long time. And Tough Hide, it stacks, as said, with our racial poison resistance. Now, there is a peculiar difficulty with the smithing skill here. First off, on expert or lower you can safely ignore the entire skill, I think, maybe just level it up without perking and use some elixirs. If you are using an official Skyrim patch, you should consider at least taking the Arcane Blacksmith to improve the Shield of Isgramor. To craft our armor set, we will need Advanced Armor perk. Oddly enough, to fully improve it, you will need the Ebony smithing perk, so you should probably try that on high difficulty levels, which means on Master and Legendary there is a lot of smithing perks to take. If you wish to fully improve your Isgramor's shield, again, you will need Daedric smithing. So that is a lot of maybes and ifs and buts. It might be a good idea to add honed metal to your load order for just that reason. However, this build really only depends on the two aforementioned skills of light armor and block to work properly, so you can perk them both in just over 31 levels. And at this point, if you are still playing, why not take some smithing? In enchanting, you need to invest only 3 perk points to get the Regalia enchanting, mainly to top our bashing abilities and stamina regeneration. I purposely avoided taking extra effect perk this time. It felt like it would drain the challenge from the build completely for a very little gain in coolness factor, although the build can be completed even with a full smithing setup at level 43. So, you know, it was a lot of temptation, munchkin temptation, to take the extra effect, but I prevailed. The enchanting skill will be paramount for our gear because we only use one pre-enchanted item, the Shield of Isgramor. Not gonna lie, it is mainly an aesthetic/RP choice because it is a big, beautiful freaking shield, like a big, beautiful freaking wall, and is a good excuse to revisit the companion's questline. If you wish to be more efficient about it, a high-level Shield of Solitude would be likely a better option. Auriel's shield could go very well with the build too, but it requires a questline I didn't see as fitting for this character. Use your other item slots for stamina regeneration on your necklace, breastplate and boots, fortify unarmed on the gloves and on the ring, and Summermyst's fortify bashing on your bandana. 2 shouts will be particularly useful: Whirlwind Sprint and Marked for Death. With your combat style, stamina regeneration is so important that you will actually be a little bit screwed when out of stamina. So if that happens, you can Whirlwind Sprint yourself out of combat and wait a second before re-engaging. The green bar will fill a little bit and then you can resume bashing. And that is basically it. The early game can be a little bit rough, so lower your difficulty and raise your shield in front of a giant to power level your block, if it is really necessary. Because once your block perks are unlocked, there is very little in the world to stop you. And with that closing remark, I hope you will have loads of fun with the build, and we will see each other again. Bye bye. I'm running out of ideas how to say bye-bye in a different way. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Okay? Bye.